gonna put the time myself. All right, live streamed. Can we, yeah, get that. There we go. So hello, my name's Julia. As most of you know, I'm the founding director of Global Girl Project. And we wanted to come together tonight to really celebrate. You know, for us at Global Girl, it's really important that we show gratitude and make sure that everybody knows how much we really appreciate their support, their action, to ensure that we continue the work that we're doing and that we continue to grow. So this is about celebration. And this is, you know, it's a little bit different from last year, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But, you know, thank you for joining. If you're joining now or you're joining live on Facebook, or if you're watching it later, thank you for joining. So this is, we originally planned this to be for the end of our campaign, as you know, for the month of March, Global Girls Run the World. And, you know, we are very excited to report, I think I just looked before we came on, that we are at 32,600 and something. We might be past that now, or maybe it's 32,300 something. So we have surpassed last year's eventual goal that we raised. So well done, well done. You know, that it's yes, exactly. Huge congrats to really mainly our ambassadors. And we're going to talk a little bit about that soon. Thank you, Isaac. We have Isaac from last year, who's grown his hair and got a pair of glasses. You probably recognize him from last year, is moving and mobilizing. So he was moving and mobilizing this year as well, and joining us for our meeting today, which is awesome. You know, but we recognize that, you know, we had changed our target. Our target was 50,000 pounds this year, because you all did so much to help us to actually expand and to grow, to have our blended learning in more locations, to be able to actually hire Hannah White as our program manager, to make me a full-time employee of the organization for the first time. There was so much that came from that. And what that means with growth is that obviously then we need more to sustain. I was saying to Isaac, you know, when I first met him, he was 5 and now he's 8. And so he probably eats a lot more than he did when he was 5. And that's the same with an organization, right? So we've upped our target. And so the reason that we have pushed our campaign sort of end date back by 1 week is to allow a little bit more time for us to get closer to that 50,000 pound target. We may reach it, we may not, and I'll talk a little bit about what that, you know, what that means. But I was out walking today, and or tonight, actually, I walk 3 times a day with Lua, so that's my movement. I was thinking about the Margaret Mead quote, which I'm not going to quote verbatim, or maybe I will. Let's see if I remember. Never doubt that a small group or community of people can change the world. In fact, that's the only thing that ever has. And I was reminded of that because we did our first fundraiser 8 years ago, and it was a Christmas card campaign. I printed off these Christmas cards. I may have even designed them. I don't actually remember. And we sold them, and we probably raised like $300 or something like that. It wasn't very much, but we had that quote in the Christmas card, or as a holiday card, actually. So, you know, that was, for me, from the beginning, the intention of Global Girl is that each of our girls making change, taking action, actually creates the global change that we want to see. And that now is reflected through the network of people who support us, including our ambassadors that I'll talk about, and our board and our volunteers that support that. And so if you now read our annual report, which we just released at the end of February, it has that same quote. And I think it's really important for us to remember that, because there's so much that's going on in this world, as we know, and we know the campaign has been affected by that. But ultimately, what has been achieved thus far with this campaign and what will be achieved going forward for Global Girl is because of the power of individual people who come together to create a community and take steps and take action to create change. And it's as simple as that, as far as I'm concerned. And that is what we are growing with Global Girl Project. So I just wanted to share that with all of you as something I was thinking about. For us, the impact thus far is something that we still want to make sure everybody is aware of. So that, the 32,000 essentially is translating into us being able to run our blended learning leadership initiative in 10 locations, which is we are launching in May in 11 locations. So the plan is for September for us to launch in 13 locations. So the current amount we've raised will fundraise most of the blended learning for September. What it doesn't raise money for yet is our global virtual exchange. And that's the big piece that you all know, because you're close to the organization, is so important to our girls. I just shared with you about our group of girls who've just graduated, and the number one thing they asked for is like, what's the next thing? I want more. I want to do more with Global Girl. And so myself and Hannah have been working very, very hard at putting together a truly innovative curriculum that builds on what our girls have learned in the blended learning, and gives them far more responsibility, and is that next level of learning for leadership. And that's the Global Virtual Exchange Program. We are, pretty close to having that curriculum completely built out. I'm scheduling meetings with each of our partners as we speak that will be happening in the next few weeks. We are working as if it's going to happen. The plan is for it to start in September, but that's the rest of the money that we need to raise. We need to raise in this campaign, or at least by the end of June. And so, it's important for you to know how much impact you've created already. It's enormous, and we couldn't do this without you. And it's also important for you to kind of know what it is that we're really driving for. We're not some organization that has a year's money in the bank. That's not us yet. We will be, but not yet. And so, this is really coming down to lives that are being impacted, lives that are being changed. For the blended learning, it's 300 pounds a girl essentially, where that's all it takes to completely change the trajectory of a girl's life in the global South. And that is what is happening, for our girls. And I'm so proud of that. And I'm grateful to each of you who have stepped up and chosen to be a part of that movement. Before we go on to a little video that we put together, I think I want to say that tonight is, as I said in the beginning, it's different than last year, right? Last year we had a number of different teams. And so, we highlighted lots of different teams. This year it's been different. There's a lot more going on. But what has been happening is that a group of very powerful, determined women called our ambassadors have raised almost 100% of the money that we've raised thus far in our campaign, which is like totally staggering. And we're going to have to somehow bottle that and like share it with other people who want to raise money for Global Girl, because I don't know how you've done it, but it's absolutely blown me away. And
I want to know, can they do a course or something? Like, please, workshop for me how you do that.
That's our Yvette, who is our secretary, who's, is a huge support for Global Girl, and also really busts her butt to raise money for Global Girl. But it is, you're right, there's something that you have, and this is why the Ambassador Partner one of the reasons the Ambassador Partner Program was started. And I want you to hopefully see the impact that you've created. Without you, we wouldn't be here right now, right? We wouldn't have a program manager. I'd probably still be teaching capoeira to Isaac. No offense, Isaac. It was great fun, but we wouldn't be about to launch with 130 girls in our blended learning leadership initiative in May. 130 girls are about to start our program again. And we've just had over 100 girls graduate this month. So, you know, this is all comes down to the, as Britt just said, I saw passion, conviction, determination, to do something that, quite frankly, a lot of grant givers are not doing, which is investing in women-led organizations that work in the global South. It's not happening, and you've seen our articles about it. So you all as a group, as a collective, have done something that you know, most groups are not able to do. And I think that that shows the power of the collective, that shows the power of the feminine, the ability to work together, to come together, to motivate. And so that's what we're celebrating tonight. So let's watch, yes, there we go. Let's watch a video. I wish I could kind of like share all of the videos and photos from our facilitators, you know, and some of those videos are from what's literally just happened, because some of them have just graduated, as I said, and then there's some groups that are doing their events, like Cambodia's doing their event tomorrow. I think Haiti's doing their event next weekend. And so it's really blowing me away. I mean, this is in the middle of COVID. And so at this point, I think our girls in India in Hyderabad did their event on the dowry system. And it was actually quite interesting. I met with them prior to their event. And, you know, they were talking about the fact that the dowry system where they're living is illegal now. However, it's something that's still very much practiced, but under a different name, right? And that, you know, I was really impressed that they wanted to address something that was that sort of, intricate, right? It wasn't so obvious, but it was something that they really wanted to address. And their event that they ran, still in the middle of COVID, had over 100 people attending. That to me, I mean, I can't even get 100 people to attend my event. So I don't know, you know, it's absolutely astonishing what they're doing in the middle of COVID. And so I really see how that is going to grow and expand, you know, as things hopefully shift eventually with COVID. And so, you know, we will be sharing more about those events as they happen. And as I said, this is really how we're doing our work, is the ripple effect that our girls are creating. Not only are you supporting the girls going through a life-changing experience, but you're also supporting the community members, their parents, their friends, their teachers, their elders, seeing them in a leadership position, which from the feedback we get is almost for all of them the first time they've seen that. And that is how we change attitudes about girls. Because if you look at somebody like Malala, you know, one of the reasons that she's like she is because she had the support of her father, you know, who believed that she needed to be educated. And, you know, so don't underestimate the power of girls being in a community, in a family that actually recognizes their ability to lead and their power as girls. And that's part of what happens when they run their events. And then obviously everything else that happens, their connection to their voice, their authentic power as girls, and actually learning how to take action on something that they've been thinking about, which for many of us is difficult, right? We think about things all the time and we don't do anything about them. So, that's really important. Anyways, awards. This is, we are about the collective, but it's still important to recognize a few people or teams. And so the first award is going to be very obvious to everybody, but is the team that raised the most amount of money and is still going, and is part of the reason that we're actually continuing this fundraiser for another week. And that goes to the team Step Change. Yay! This team is headed up by Britt, who is here, and then a number of her teammates, including our newest board member, Christina, who is fast asleep because she lives in Vietnam. But I'd love to have Britt. I'd love for you to unmute, and anybody else who's here from your team, to just hear a bit from you, whatever you want to say, like why, how can you teach us, and why? That's what I want to know.
Well, thank you, Julia. Actually, I think I'm going to hand over to Vicky, because you've heard from me before and you know what I am like. But Vicky was a new recruit to the team. So Vicky, why don't you share a little bit your thoughts and your why?
Beautiful. Yes, please. Vicky.
Yeah, I can do that. But I think Brit, we're still going to have to find a way to bottle this essence of Brit. Yeah, I can't do that.
I know. It's worth currently 17,635 pounds. And
We've got to do that.
Still going. Yeah. Vicky, yes, please. Please tell me a bit about why and how and why, whatever you want.
Well, I've never fundraised before in my life. And I'm really uncomfortable asking for anything. Yeah. So asking for money was hard. Yeah. But I think Brit's passion and the way the group, this Step Change team came together, for a bunch of us, the Step Change was also part of a change that we're going through in our professional lives. So this addition of being able to do something for people outside of our small circle was just too good an opportunity. And for me personally, my average step in February is 2,000, right? So I don't move. I just sit. So it was really a change for me, also just health-wise and forming a new habit. And I think we a week before the campaign started, of course, we had this awful thing of Ukraine being invaded, and we all kind of also felt, what are we going to do now? How do we talk about this? Yeah. And the kind of information we got from you, Julia, at that time really helped us. Because, and there's never a time when there's just one problem to solve in the world, unfortunately. And this is still a great charity. It still does amazing work. So we kind of found a way to link our narrative to what was happening over there. And we calculated our steps that if we met our target with everybody walking 10,000 steps a day, we would travel the distance between London and Lviv in Ukraine. And it just kind of gave us a way to keep going as well. So I've really enjoyed the 1 month. I think what I take away from it is definitely stronger friendships in the team that we've got. In fact, one of our team was so moved by the whole experience that she donated to each one of us in the team.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was so thoughtful. I was really moved by it. I'm also going to take away whatever health benefits come with these steps. They better come. And I think I've got a newfound gratitude for the kind of privileged life that I do have, and not everybody else has it. And I've got a resolve to do more for great charities like this. Yeah. Wow. And it's been a great opportunity. Thank you, Julia.
Woo, I've got goosebumps. Thank you, Vicky. That there's a lot that you said there that I'd love to ask more about, but I know I talk too much. I mean, I I think it's, you know, it's interesting, and maybe that's part of it is sort of, you know, there's a number of different elements, right? The connection that you have with each other and how that became stronger. The connection to a purpose, which I feel like we all need a purpose outside of ourselves. Personally, and I'm just lucky that I am a social worker, and that's part of the work, that's my life, you know. But I think that each of us really get so much stronger and feel so much more connected when we have a purpose far outside ourselves and can see the impact that we're you know, we are creating. And I love how you know, conceptualized it with a goal that was very, that sort of brought you all together and gave you a focus, which I think Britt is really good at. From
Also, it was fun as well, right? We started building a Spotify list. So there was songs for the day. And I think the latest one was the final countdown, because we are close to the end. And the one for yesterday was She Works Hard for the Money. So, you know, if you know these songs, it really kept us going.
Oh my goodness, literally, you guys need to do a workshop. I'm serious. Like, that's insane. I mean, if everybody did what you all did, then I think they would be as successful. And I think it's interesting, Vicky, that you said, you know, you've not fundraised before, you're not comfortable in asking for money, because that's a lot of people. That's many people who have been on our board. That's a lot of my friends. There's many people feel like that. And I think that, you know, the ability to shift it into, it's not an ask for money. It's an opportunity that you're offering for people to be of service. It's an opportunity that you're offering people to be connected to something more than themselves. And we all want that. We all do, whether we, you know, we might hide it under a lot of things, but we all want it. And I think that that's been my biggest learning with Global Girl over the years, is like, we all do want to be of service and help. And we just need to find something that we connect to. And that's the work that we do with Global Girl. We teach the same things to our girls, you know, and we teach them that regardless of how little you have, you can always give back to others. And that's what our girls in I won't, you know, where I was talking about before, are doing. And they have, look at how little they have, you know. So I'm so grateful to you, Vicky. I've never even met you, to agree to be a part of this and just take so much of your time and energy and heart and soul to you know, help raise all of this money. It's beautiful. So thank you so much. I really appreciate, it's not the right word, as you know, but thank you. The step change team is well, a few hours ago was 17,635. It's quite possible that has changed. I do want to also highlight that, you know, the beach class, which is headed up by Vanessa Bogue, at the last count was 3,459. Yay! That is, you know, a lot of money as well. That will fund more than a cohort of 10 girls to go through the program for 3 months. Empower Her, Merit's team. Is Merit here? I thought I saw Merit somewhere. Her team is at 2,767 at the last count. Well done, Merit. Sola's team, Dream Team, 1950. We, you know, honestly, if I'm looking through at all the teams, it's all ambassadors, which is different than last year. You know, it is different. And so I think that really, for us, it's something for us to really spend some time, you know, thinking about. And for me, it's really conceptualizing this idea that I had many years ago of finding a network of women who support our network of girls. And so, you know, this is sort of a realization of that in a lot of ways. So thank you. And women and men and boys, but this is a network of women. Let's move on to, we have one more award, which is our most enthusiastic fundraiser. Now, this person has known me for a number of years. She is quite possibly, now Britt, this is saying a lot, but she's quite possibly our biggest cheerleader. Now, like, I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, you are a huge cheerleader, but like this person just like blows me away. I mean, she is there for everything. She always says yes. She's been a part of our team for the event this year and last year. She is our secretary as well. She's a friend, and she's somebody who literally moved every day, recorded it, tagged a bunch of people, and begged and pleaded for them to give her money. Yes. Yes, you should join forces with Yvette. Absolutely. Let's give the second award to Yvette Franklin. Yay. You know, and
I would love that. We could sponsor each other and say, look, we'd make millions for Global Girl Project.
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. Like, I don't know where Yvette gets it, but she's literally always in the best mood ever and full of energy all the time. And that's what we need. I mean, I think it's important at Global Girl, we recognize a lot of different things. It's not just about the most money raised. It is about what every single person brings to the table. And we're all different, you know, and that's what's amazing. I love that. And so, you know, we love Yvette because of her energy and her passion, and she would live and die for Global Girl. And that is like so valuable as a founder. So Yvette, can you just quickly tell us something?
Something. Well, I love it. I love that we get to do this again. You know, when we were talking about it however many months ago that we were going to do another, I think even before we finished last year, we were like, we're doing this every year.
Yes, Britt.
Yeah, we're doing this every year. Yeah, let's do this next year. And you know, the world is different, the climate is different, but I just you know, I feel those girls, you know, and I feel my privilege, and I feel a duty to do something, to be a mouthpiece for them and with them. And you know, I literally talk about it all the time, like and I talk to everyone about it. And this is, you know, there's a Bob Marley song where the lyrics go, you're going to be tired of seeing my face. And that was literally my thing for this year. I was like, you're going to see me every day. And yes, I'm going to remind you every day. And I'm going to text you every day. And I'm going to put a video every day until you give me your money for a good cause.
Yes. And you know,
use
and
the energy for good.
Yeah. I love it. And you know, you've shown up in so many ways for Global Girl. You know, yes, I'll come to the WOW Festival with you. Yes, I'll come help you at the Capoeira event. Yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll do that. And that is so valuable to me, but also to us as a charity. So thank you to Yvette, a most enthusiastic fundraiser. I don't even know if enthusiastic is the right word, but that's what we'll use.
That's the word you've got.
Yeah, Energizer Bunny. I'm just so what I want to do is this is just like a little bit of, you know, for us, inspiration for all of us. So this is, you've probably heard of it, Menti. We want to have each of you get your phone out, and you can literally just open up your camera and scan this, and it's going to take you to a page, and it's going to ask you a question. So go ahead and do that. And then once you start to answer that, though, there's two questions. So you answer the one question, and you can give as many answers as you want, and then you'll go on to the next question. And once you do that, we'll start to see it populated on the screen, I believe. Hi, Eleanor. There we go. So who inspired you throughout this journey? I think it's, you know, I get asked this question a lot. You know, if I'm doing a podcast or an interview, and it's always like, ooh, who is it that inspires you? Like, who keeps you going? And, you know, not only getting up every morning, but feeling really excited about getting up every morning. And for me, it's my girls. I mean, it's 100% my girls that they, you know, I know without a shadow of a doubt that I cannot stop, because there are millions of girls who need our programming now. And so for me, that's what pushes me. I don't need anything else, but I want you to, write down Brit. Absolutely. Whatever you want to write down, please put in. You can put in, I think you can do multiple answers, right? Lauren, I don't know if Lauren can speak while she's, but yeah, please write those down just so that we can remind ourselves. Lauren, yes, she has been a powerhouse. You will meet the volunteers at the end. Anything else? Anything, please write it down. And then I think there's also a second question. But I think like it's important, when we get tired, when we get bogged down in all of the things that happen in life, that we remember what it is that inspires us. And I feel very fortunate to have my girls, because it's the never-ending inspiration, the lives that they live and the places that they live. If they can get up every day and do amazing things, that I most certainly can. So I'm very blessed to have them in my life. And so I want to share them with you as well, obviously. Posts, oh, that's good. Our social media is some inspiration, which is good. Team of amazing women. Merritt, Jasper, Pumi, Sarah, Hannah, nice. Beach class, yes, we did. The beach class was, Vanessa is unfortunately in a business meeting tonight, otherwise she would be here. But Vanessa is the Wizard of Oz, essentially, the one behind the curtain who's orchestrated the entire ambassador partner program. And her team was obviously a huge fundraiser as well for this. Seeing the progress on Chuffed. Hannah, yes, Hannah will watch this tomorrow. Hannah's our new program manager. If you haven't met her, I'm literally never letting her go. She is quite, the most spectacular addition to Global Girl Project besides me, essentially. And that's not to be conceited, but obviously it wouldn't exist if I didn't. So she's somebody who I really hope to be with us for the long haul, and somebody who really has already helped us to grow in such an enormous way. So, and then what was the next question? S'il vous plaît et merci. What word describe how you felt? Inspired, tired, but happy. Yeah. Rich Brad. Tired by I say that a lot whenever I'm in a meeting. People are like, how are you? I'm like, tired, but happy. Which is important. It means you're working hard. Sore. Did you get less sore as the month went on? That's the question.
It was the capoeira that made me sore.
Oh, it's the capoeira. That's Charlotte, one of our volunteers, Isaac's mom, who has also come to train capoeira with me. So beautiful. Okay, thank you for sharing that. So the next part is just really for questions, and it's more of a conversation with you guys at this point, because you're the ones who know us the best. But I feel like this is kind of like an opportunity for you to ask those nitty-gritty questions that maybe you haven't had an opportunity to ask before. Vicky, obviously you are newer to us, but we've got our nice journey before we do that. So this is something that Charlotte created, and I love this because if you know me, I'm the type of person who's really focused on the future. And so once I've done something, I kind of forget about it and I move on. I celebrate it, probably not enough, but I move on. And so it was really cathartic to actually do a little bit of a look back of like the major milestones, obviously, that have happened over the years. And all of you have been involved in Global Girl recently. None of you have been involved sort of from the beginning. And so except for Lua, who you can't see because of my screen, but my dog has been around since the beginning, but that's about it. So, you know, Global Girl we started in 2014. We started as an exchange program, as you know. We started in the US, very, very, very small, 1 girl, 3 girls, you know, really kind of struggling to figure out you know, how we could scale and how to move things forward. And then in 2017, because honestly, I was pushed due to immigration policies in the US to move the program to Nepal. And for us, that was kind of the big shift that happened before COVID. And I think it's important to share that, because I think that shift happened because it was much more in alignment with our values as an organization. And as an organization, as you would know, as our focus is doing development differently. We are not buying into old colonial ideas that the West is best. And so, you know, to be able to move our program to Nepal, it took that Western global North element out of our programming. And that's when it changed. That's when we were able to become truly global. So we ran our program in Nepal for 2 years with girls from Sierra Leone, Cameroon, Pakistan, Nepal, Rwanda. Where else? I'm looking at their pictures right now. Haiti. And that was really sort of the impetus to how things shifted for Global Girl. And then obviously COVID happened. And in COVID happening is when our growth really took off, because if you know me, you know that I love a challenge. And I think every challenge is an opportunity to get much stronger. Right, Isaac? Yes, do you agree?
Yeah, a lot of challenges are your favorite.
Thank you, my dear. A lot of challenges are my favorite. You are correct. And so I actually go seeking them out, I think, right? So, so really for us, that's when things started to take off as an organization. And that was really because I convinced the board to let me work full time for 6 months. 6 months, and I'll show you what can happen. And that's when things started. That's when we published the book. So let's move on to the next slide. Go forward. So that's when we published the book. That's when the Blended Learning Leadership Initiative really took off. It was a pilot in 2019, but we switched our focus in 2020 and started to expand that into, you know, 4 countries and then 5 countries. 2021 was when the Ambassador Partner Program came into effect. So we'll go to the next slide. So this is when it really, really started to change. You know, we had our first Global Girls Run the World, the Ambassador Partner Program started. I became a full-time, you know, employee of the organization. We hired Hannah as a program manager in August. And the expansion of the blended learning, you know, happened considerably into 9 locations. And we launched our, you know, one-of-a-kind Global Graduates Connect. And, you know, for us, 2020 is we're hoping to be on that same trajectory. And, you know, we, as I said, will be launching with 130 girls in a month. And we really plan with this money that we're raising to be able to expand that to 150 girls and another 150 girls in September, as well as the Global Virtual Exchange Program. And so, yeah, it is great to see visually. So yeah, so that's been a bit of our trajectory. Some people think that we're very young, but actually it's been a slow burn. And I think that that's important because that's how real change happens. It doesn't happen quickly. It takes time. And if you know us as an organization, and Vicky sort of being new to supporting us is like, your donations are safe with us because we do everything very intentionally and very methodical, because it's not for me about numbers. It's about actual impact. It's about qualitative impact. Yes, we want to scale and we want to get this into as many places as properly, but not at the risk of losing the impact it creates for our girls. And so, where we are today has taken us, since 2014 to get there, but now we have a very clear idea of where we're going. And this is the start of it for this year. So Global Girls Around the World 2023. Is that Isaac? Isaac, you have to get a team of your friends together if you're saying 2023, I have to say.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, you'll be 9 then. So, 9 friends who are 9 years old, raising 900 pounds.
You can do it.
Okay, well, that'll be a challenge.
So just so you know, people don't know, but Isaac, I taught Isaac when capoeira, starting when he was 5. And so that was 3 years ago. That's where I first met Isaac. And then Isaac was our winner last year of our Young Feminist for this fundraiser. And he's also designed a zine that I've yet to see, Isaac, for Global Girl Project. And then his mother followed and has been a volunteer with us for the last couple of years as well, and now trains capoeira. So, and you'll meet the volunteers right at the end. But before we go on, I just want to sort of, we're gonna finish up shortly. So please ask me questions. Like, what do you want to know? I love questions. Before we meet our amazing team of volunteers, what do you want to know? Anything?
Julia, in the video you had we need to raise 70,000 by the end of June.
Yeah. How
are we going to do that?
Britt, you always ask the good questions. It's a great question. We have, outside of this fundraiser, a number of, I keep saying coals in the fire, but that's maybe because I live on a boat. What is it? Irons in the fire. There you go. Number of irons in the fire. So we have put in a couple of different funding applications of different sizes to foundations. That is always kind of like it's like winning the lottery, right? It really just kind of depends on what people say. We had a funding application come back to us recently that was specifically, for any future work in Afghanistan. They were like, well, this isn't a priority. And I'm kind of like, well, education for girls in Afghanistan isn't a priority, then like what is? But, every foundation has their own focus. So we are also holding a number of meetings with some different businesses. So Britt brought on our first corporate sponsorship with the Jordan Kuwait Bank, who continue to sponsor our work in Jordan. So thanks to Britt for really helping us to bring that first corporate partnership in. And so that's a focus for us going forward. And so I've had a number of different meetings with the EY Foundation India, a company called Turner and Townsend's, a few different ones that we've been having conversations with. But as you may not know, conversations with corporates take forever. Exactly. We were lucky with the Jordan Kuwait Bank because you had that connection and they moved quickly, but that's not the norm for corporates, and they take their time. But I have been having, today I had 3 meetings this morning with different possible funders. Again, nothing could come of it, or something could, and that's the reality of the charity. We still have our monthly donor program, and we still need to grow that, and so that's our only sustainable funding. As you know, our global change makers. We'd love for our fundraisers for this Global Girls Run to the World to become global change makers. To, while the work that you've done in this month is like astonishing, what's even more helpful is for us to know that monthly this certain amount is coming in. And so each of our ambassadors are monthly donors, they're global change makers, but we want to build that program out, and that's a continual focus for us. So we're bringing more monthly donors in. Yes, who was that? Did somebody say something? No.
I had a question. about where are some of our graduates now?
So I'm going to go to that in a second, but I think the one thing to kind of say is that, you know, running a charity, the unfortunate thing is that obviously we may have to not go forward with the exchange program. That will be the first place, but I hope that we don't have to. You know, we've managed to come this far, and I, you know, believe intrinsically that what we're doing needs to happen, and a lot of things point in that direction. And sometimes you just don't know where it's going to come from. But we're having a lot of conversations. We're having a lot of meetings. You know, we do have our board members who are doing different sorts of fundraisers. We have a fundraiser coming up next weekend that one of our board members is running. Another one just finished running a fundraiser that was like £4,000 that she raised. And so there's a lot of different things happening behind the scenes, I guess is the answer to that question. But we'll see. You know, if we don't raise enough money by the end of June, then we will, you know, we will have to make some decisions, as I've said before. What are the girls doing now? I mean, you know, one of the things I think is like, it may be different than bigger organizations, but I'm in contact with like all of our girls. So, which is obviously a lot of work, but, you know, we recently have heard from a number of our girls, because our Global Graduates Connect platform, which is our online platform that all our girls get added to as they graduate, is in its second version. And so we're adding all of our older girls back onto it, and we're creating a program where we actually want some of those girls to work for us, creating content that they will get paid to create for that platform. And so we've been in contact with a number of our girls, and I'm happy to report that, you know, one of them, I haven't talked to her for 2 years. She was one of our girls in Nepal, and she's in Australia going to university. She just got to Australia 2 days before I talked to her. Yes. And I said, can I please have a Zoom call with you? And she said, yes. We had a meeting. She had just gotten to Australia. She's from Nepal. And she's there going to university. You know what she's doing? Social work. Do you know why she's doing it? Because of her experience with Global Girl Project. So, and she said that to me after the exchange program. She's like, I actually have decided I want to be a social worker, and reiterated it. And when we talked to her about her giving back and creating content for the platform, she said, absolutely, please, you know, let me know how I can help. We have another girl from Rwanda who just contacted me. She's working right now. She's got a job taking care of infants because she's waiting to go to university. She got accepted and she's going to university in September. One of our girls in Nepal, you know, a great conversation where she wants to follow in my footsteps, essentially, but her parents really want her, they need her to make money because they live sort of, you know, day to day. And so she has been working while still volunteering. She was one of the girls who did the Street Dog Project. She's in the book, if you've read it. She's still volunteering. She's been creating beds for the dogs and going out in the street and like giving all these dogs these beds out of these burlap bags. In college. So she's in college. We have, I would say 100% of our girls are either in college, university, and or working at this point in terms of our graduates, and the rest of them are still in school. So that for me is enormous, right? So yeah, thank you for that question. Yes, buy the book, please, if you don't have it already. News of that. I've just heard back from the woman who we originally talked to about it doing an audiobook, and she's finally found somebody who can do because we wanted to do an audiobook of the book, but I wanted the voices to be authentic, obviously. And it was actually very hard to find people who do voice work in the Global South, which you probably wouldn't have thought of that if you haven't done an audiobook before. But so, you know, I wasn't willing to have somebody with a British or an American accent doing accents of our girls from different parts of the world. So we found somebody who can do the Sierra Leonean and Cameroon accents. And so I think we're going to hopefully go ahead with the audiobook. But any other questions? What else do you want to know?
There was a question in the chat, sorry, from Charlotte and Isaac about what challenges do the global girls currently face?
Our girls themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. There's a lot of different challenges, but I think the number one challenge that I think is probably for all of our girls is that they don't realize that they are already leaders and that they already have power and voice. And I did the podcast I did yesterday, which is not out yet, but I did yesterday. This woman kind of conceptualized it perfectly in that what Global Girl does is teach our girls that you don't have to take all of these steps in the future to become a leader. You already are a leader and you already have the power you need. It's just a matter of recognizing it and connecting it and then having those tools to use it. And so that for me is probably the underlying issue that all of our girls deal with is they don't even know they have a voice and they don't know that they're already leaders. And so by the end of our program, I think the latest thing was like 97% all recognize that they actually are leaders and actually want to take the steps they need. Thank you, Britt. Thank you. You need to go. I know it's later there for you. Thank you for joining. We'll be in touch, I'm sure. Keep moving. And thank you so much for being our biggest fundraiser. Of course, no surprise there. Thank you, Britt. We'll see you later. Any other questions before we finish up?
One last really good one. What are the biggest shifts you've seen in the past 8 years when it comes to female leadership on a global and organizational level? I know that was a mouthful, wasn't it?
That's it's a difficult question to answer because this is just from my perspective. And, I think that within the global North, there has been a significant shift. I think the Me Too movement was probably a bit of not the beginning of that, but I think it was kind of that tipping point that happened in the global North with the Me Too movement. I think that there's been an enormous shift in, so that comes down to voice, really. That Me Too movement is about voice, isn't it? That people are being able to step out and say, like, me too, this has happened to me, and giving power to voice. And I think that it has meant that things that were okay to say, things that were okay to kind of brush under the rug, were no longer okay. And so then it's allowed space to talk more about feminist leadership, about being a feminist organization, which is a lot of the conversation that we're having now at Global Girl Project. It's allowed that space, whereas certainly 8 years ago, I don't feel was here. But that's the global North. The global South is a different story. And I mean, we're generalizing, obviously, but I think that the biggest change is probably the access to technology has opened up people's understanding of what is happening. And if we look at the work that we do, all of our work is around connection. All of our work is around giving girls the opportunity to connect and realize they're not isolated. And for me, if you realize that you're not alone and that there are other people in the same situation as you, that is power. And so what internet does is the same thing. It helps people to feel less alone. It helps people to see that other parts of the world are dealing with similar situations. And I think that has been a big shift in the global South, but it's not yet reached the girls that we work with. The majority of the girls that we work with are not online, don't have access to technology on any sort of regular basis, and also don't have the knowledge or experience on how to use it. And so they're still in a space where they don't have, they're still isolated. And so that's why our work is so important. This is why we need to scale. This is why this is the time. We need to get into as many communities as possible. And that's what our girls are telling us. Once they connect with us, they're not isolated. They don't feel alone, and they have a community. And you've all shown the power of community today, right? Like, you've shown how important that is and how that's changed your life, and you live in a connected space. Our girls don't. And so I think there's still a long way to go in terms of that in the global South. Jo has her hand up.
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Julia. I didn't want to leave the session today without mentioning your shop and your merchandise.
Oh, snap.
My favourite jumper.
Ooh,
Kids have got their t-shirts, we've got the mugs. Should have had it all here actually if I'd prepared properly. But I was really concerned you're going to end the call and not talk about it. And we talked about all the different fundraising streams you've got in your book and everything else. So make sure they're really nice quality jumpers actually. Got the vintage t-shirt like that one. So make sure we put the link in the chat as well of where to go straight to that, because that's really important too.
This is why we have ambassadors. Like, I cannot remember all the things. I am one person and it's like, I can't do it. So thank you, Jo. And that looks good. I haven't seen it in that color before. So I would look good in that color. Actually, I might need to get that myself. I realized when we did the WOW Festival that I literally have one Global Girl jumper. So I think I might need to get some more for other opportunities to be out in the world. So yes, please, we do have a Global Girl Project store. All of the proceeds after covering costs go back to Global Girl Project and our programming. We have our regular Global Girl stuff. We have Global Girls Run the World. We've got jumpers, we've got shirts, we've got mugs, we've got hats, we've got what else? I think we have water bottles. I think we even have a bag, but we've got a lot of different stuff. And so yes, you're right. Thank you, Jo. And thank you for being a fabulous ambassador and doing all of this movement and fundraising for us. But that does look really good, actually. What's this last one, Eleanor? If you donate. Oh, yes, you can get a hoodie or you can buy one but we do, thank you, Eleanor. So let's, we're going to finish up, but I think one of the things to say, if you're watching this later, and also for our ambassadors, like, I was thinking about this today because we've raised, you as our ambassador have raised almost all of this money. And that is because of the networks that you have accessed, right? That you have reached out to, that you have inspired and connected with. And prior to you, we didn't have access to those networks. And that's part of why Vanessa, reached out and created the Ambassador Partner Program. We need to build our community on social media so that we, as we're going forward, can also access that. And so, this was built originally on my family and friends, right? I mean, that's how we started. And my family of friends, they've been supporting for 8 years. And so, we want to grow that. So please, you already all follow us, but if you're watching this, the easiest thing for you to do is go to Instagram, go to Facebook, go to LinkedIn, especially, and follow us. Please just follow us, follow. It's free. It takes no effort, and that will help us a lot to increase our network. For our ambassadors, your teams, the people that you have motivated and the people who've donated to your teams, please reach out to them and ask them to follow us. That's really, really important as we grow our network, because we don't want those people to be one-off donors and never hear about us again. We want them to see the impact they're creating, and we'll be sharing that on social. Our focus this coming year is all about marketing and comms. And so you're going to see a lot more coming your way in different sort of ways throughout this next year. So please do that. please, if you're inspired and you actually enjoyed feeling like you were part of something that is making a difference globally, then please become a global change maker, which is our regular monthly donor program. You can give £2, you can give £100, you can give whatever you want monthly. But as I said, we are a women-led organization that is working in the global south. And what that means is that sustainable funding is much more of a challenge for us to find. And I won't go into that now. You can read our blog and you'll hear, you'll see why that is. And so our only sustainable funding is our Global Change Makers, our monthly donor program. And that's the only thing that helps me to plan every month. And we need to have more monthly donors. So please do that. Before we finish, I just really you all don't know, but if you're in a big business and you work with a whole team, you don't know the power of volunteers to change the trajectory of an organization is absolutely out of this world. Last year's fundraiser and this year's fundraiser were completely organized by a team of volunteers. Myself and Hannah, we were obviously part of it, but really it comes down to them. So I just really want to highlight them. They can say whatever they want. Firstly, we were super lucky because of one of our ambassadors to be able to work with Ernst & Young and their CSR program to have a full-time project manager for 3 months who's been working tirelessly for free. Well, I guess she's getting paid by Ernst & Young, but not by us, to be able to keep all of these hooligans under control and help them to create what you've seen in front of you and get us to where we are now. So please say a huge amount of gratitude to Miss Lauren, who is able to unmute herself. I don't know, Lauren, can you? No, you can't unmute yourself. She's a tech wizard, she is, but she can't unmute herself without stopping sharing her screen because that's what she's doing. Lauren is I'm literally never letting her go either. She's already trying to find other ways to work with us. She's talking to Ernst & Young right now of hoping to continue with us because anybody who volunteers with us is a volunteer for, I think, probably life, but we'll see what happens. So thank you very much, Lauren. We also have the fantastico Eleanor, who has been a volunteer with us for 2 years now. Is it 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us why you keep coming back for all of this abuse?
Yeah, I don't know, because I actually applied to become a board member and they said no. But we'll have you help us. So I'm like, okay, fine. The girls and education are the two things I care most about. So Global Girl Project combines those two perfectly. Julia, as you know, when she asks you to do something, it's very hard to say no. So here I am, 2 years in, still saying yes, a bit like a vet. But it's every time I have a conversation, I always come away wanting to do a bit more. Can I do more? Can I give more? Can I help more? So it's great to see other people joining in with that too. So that's been beautiful to see.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you. Yes, I know I'm hard to say no to, and that is my MO. It's all in how you ask the question. Is it possible? That's how you ask the question. Is it possible? It's always possible. But Eleanor she also is helping us with our newsletters. She's a great writer, has helped us to get some funding so that our change makers could get their pins and postcards. So Eleanor has been involved in a lot of different things over the last couple of years, and we're hugely grateful for that. So thank you, Eleanor, and hopefully you keep coming back for more because you're making a huge impact. So thank you. Charlotte and Isaac. So Charlotte has been a volunteer as well for a couple of years. Is it 3 years or 2?
2 years since August 2020, I think it was.
Okay, all right. So 2 years. Again, came through Capoeira. Charlotte, why do you keep coming back?
I don't know. It's a little bit addictive, really. I think, it's you. A lot of it is down to you, and just being part of it. And I just like being part of the whole thing. And it just feels good. And I like the team and I like you, and obviously I really like what you do and see how important it is. And I don't know how else the girls would be reached in the same way, other than if it's through this. Like, I can't think of other ways that they would get anything similar. Like, you don't really have any like competitors in that sense, so it's not like they've got a lot of options. So it's really important that you get the support and be able to make it happen.
Beautiful. I like that. You're right. We have no competitors. Nobody else is doing what we're doing in this way. And so it's, you know, that's what keeps pushing me, right? That's why I can't give up. So thank you very much, Charlotte. Charlotte does lots of marketing with us. She's helping us to develop a marketing strategy of the next year, and has done last year's campaign, this year's campaign, website stuff. Isaac, why do you keep coming back?
It's mainly because I'm just doing it for you, and it's actually fun.
What's fun about it?
I really don't know, but I used to think the world was perfect, but now I know that it's not perfect, but I want to make it perfect. And I know you can help me make it perfect.
Oh, God.
No pressure.
You
said you like a challenge. You said you like a challenge.
And then Isaac makes me cry. Isaac, you made me cry. That's not easy to do. Ask my mother. She's like, that's not easy to do. Thank you. Woo, goodness me. I don't know what to say after that. And then, of course, the amazing Yvette, who is a volunteer on many levels and has been with us for the last 4 years, I think, right? We know your why, but do you have anything else to add before we finish up?
Just, you know, I hope that anyone that watches this really connects with how important this work is, and that, you know, relatively speaking, what I've done is, I think, is quite small compared to the impact that it actually creates. And I think sometimes we get too much in our heads and we get overwhelmed with, oh, this is too big. And it's just about looking at what small thing can you do. And if the small thing I can do is give £10 a month or £5 a month, or the small thing I can do is buy a book, or the small thing I can do is share on social media, just consider the small thing that you can do, because if everyone's doing the small thing that they can do, then we can help these girls just take over the planet and make it a better place, like Isaac said.
Beautiful. Absolutely. I agree. It's like you can have a bucket and you can stick a huge rock in it, or you can just stick a bunch of small rocks in there. It's still the same thing, right? But the big rock takes like probably a lot of effort and energy. And if you just like, if everybody just does a little bit, you're still going to fill the bucket. And that's what Global Girl is about. And that's what we teach our girls. And so, all right, well, that's it for us. We've only run over by 20 minutes. And I think most people are probably going to watch this later. So we've got one more week. Please keep giving. We're going to go to the 7th. We're going to get to hopefully 40,000 would be great. That's less than that's just over 7,000 left to go in a week. We can definitely do it. Let's do it. You've heard from everybody. You've heard from Isaac. We need to make this place a perfect place to be. Right, Isaac?
Yeah, and I want to be unstoppable.
You are unstoppable. Literally, that's the thing. We are unstoppable. The only thing that stops us is ourselves. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we are Global Girls. We will change the world with Global Girl Project.
Woo, 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 woo.